Good afternoon, everybody. Today I have with me Todd Leonard from Accelerated Waste. Accelerated Waste are doing things that no other business or franchise in their space is doing. He's going to talk about the junk shot and the doorstep details. Todd and I go way back in franchising. We have been friends for many years, so I don't want to take away Todd's thunder. So Todd, how about just a little bit of brief information about yourself, your start in franchising, and what got you into Accelerated Waste?
Thanks, Greg. Great to see you and appreciate you taking the time to learn about us and give me a chance to talk. So I kind of say I grew up in franchising. Back in the 80s, my dad had an idea to start a local video store franchise. So back in when Blockbuster days, we had a small regional company that competed with them a little bit. So back when FDDs were called UFOCs, and grew up with those on my kitchen table because he didn't want to pay an attorney to do all the work. So we mashed together some of the ones that we liked. And then early in my career, worked in the hotel industry, which was also on the franchise side of things. So all in all, with real world experience in franchising, it's pretty much the bulk of my life, but overall working with different franchise concepts and development, things like that. I've been doing this for a little bit over 20 years, from hotel to real estate, the home care side of things. I worked with 7-Eleven for a long time. And then now I'm with Fran Experts and Accelerated Waste Solutions. So I came over to work with these guys about a year and a half ago, right as the pandemic was getting started. Really, for me, it was such a huge part about the leadership and the owners of the company, Fred and Sherrod. They really embodied everything you want to look for in a franchisor, had proven their concept, built it out. Two guys that bootstrapped an operation 12 years ago to build the brand and start getting the company going. But more importantly, it was the character and the energy that they possessed. It was just, these guys will be successful no matter what they do. They just have that personality and that drive. So it was honestly, for me, it was an ultra easy decision to come over to such a unique concept, but really having the background and having the folks behind the scenes and the culture to really drive something forward.
What is Accelerated Waste? What exactly do they do? How about a little summary of the business itself? What it encompasses?
Sure. So Accelerated Waste Solutions is really unique in the franchise space, and actually really unique in the junk removal industry, is that we have two sides to our business. So Accelerated Waste is the parent company for, basically the parent company of Junk Shot, which is our junk removal brand, and then Doorstep Details, which is a unique service called Valet Trash. So essentially two sides of the business under one umbrella. So a franchisee that comes into our system actually is going to have two business lines that they're able to operate. So it diversifies their earning opportunities, but also a bulk of it is marketing to the same customer. So there's not really much added expense to running both business units because you're targeting the same folks. But at the end of the day, it just gives them two different revenue streams, one from the Doorstep Details Valet Trash side, which is more contractual. So we seek out longer term contracts with property management companies. And then on the junk removal side, it's a little bit more variable, which is going to be as busy as you are that day, but you're going to always have that guaranteed contract revenue coming in on the other side. So what really is huge for us is being a little bit innovative in our space, is leveraging technology into kind of a normal dirty job with a ton of technology behind it, so that our owners don't necessarily have to be the one doing the dirty job. They're able to put together a team, but we've created on the junk shot side, we actually have the nation's only junk removal patent that's been awarded for our app, the Junk Shot app. And what that allows customers to do is actually download our app. They can take a picture of the items they want removed from their home, submit it through our app, and they'll get a price quote back in a few minutes. And basically what it does is it allows them to take a photo, and we can use spatial recognition and other resources to get an idea of how much volume the materials are, so that we can plan what it would be on our truck and get them an accurate price quote versus a ballpark quote that they would get from one of our competitors. And it also allows them to see our availability and book a job right there, rather than have to pick up the phone and call. As we know, the way the world is evolving, nobody wants to talk to anyone anymore. So if you can take out steps and take out obstacles for people booking, especially service-based jobs where they have a budget in mind, they want to get it over with. Usually people are calling us 24 to 72 hours before they need it. Junk events aren't usually planned months in advance. So it's a way to get that good price quote to them really quick, but leverage technology in a way that it saves the franchisee from having to send a physical person to quote the job, to have to schedule 2 appointments, one for a quote, one for the pickup. So it really is a cost savings measure for our owners as well. And it really just makes the process a lot more seamless. And for us, it's a huge benefit because a lot of things in the junk removal space, you can actually donate, recycle, or resell. So if we know what we're going to pick up, we can actually plan what's next in the life cycle for that item. So we might be able to sell it to, a used furniture store, donate it to a Habitat for Humanity, or, we might know it's just going to go in a landfill and get taken care of there. So leveraging technology and, kind of one of those old basic, hands dirty industries so that we can be more effective and more efficient.
How did they ever come up with the owners of that? How did they ever come up with junk shot and doorstep deal? That's pretty amazing.
So yeah, what was interesting was when they started out, they had looked at the business, and honestly, when they first got going, the Valet Trash side, which Valet Trash is somewhat of an emerging industry. There's really no one franchising it currently. There's a couple of companies that we compete with currently that are larger scale national companies. But essentially, if you think of an apartment complex, you have to pick up your trash, keep it in your apartment, take it to a dumpster on site, drag it around. Usually most people aren't going to do it every day, or they play their version of, garbage Olympics and they try to shot put it in or long toss it and hope for the best. So it gets messy around the complex, and it's work that nobody really wants to do. So what we did with this concept is some other companies that, and actually it's great from the perspective of the resident now will take their trash 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday, place it in a receptacle at their doorstep that we provide. We'll pick it up, take it to the dumpster on site at the property. So we're not even removing anything, but it takes that need of the resident doing it themselves. So it's kind of two-pronged. One is a great amenity for somebody that's renting an apartment. So it helps boost occupancy for the landlords, but also it keeps their complex cleaner, and it wipes out a lot of infestations and smells and all those other things that go with garbage. And for the property management company, it's great because we charge them a monthly fee. It's contractual, 3 to 5 year contract. And what they do is they'll actually pay us every month, like clockwork, whether the units are occupied or not. So we get paid a contract rate for doing the work. But then a lot of them, what they do is they'll actually upcharge that service and add it to their tenant's rent, or they'll add it as a surcharge, usually about a 50 to 100% markup for them. So it actually increases their bottom line revenue by offering an amenity that helps them rent more apartments. So it's a real great win-win between us and the property management company. But essentially, Gerard, one of our founders, actually had this in an apartment he was living in one day and extrapolated the math and said, man, I've got to try this. So they went out and tried it. And to be honest, the first launch of it didn't go well because they didn't have the reputation yet. They didn't have all the insurances and all the things they needed, but they had rented a truck. So they were like, what the heck are we going to do with this truck we're paying rent on? So they started doing junk removal. So what they started to do was junk removal at these apartment complexes. They built rapport, built relationships. And then all of a sudden they said, wow, you guys are great. They started talking about the new service, started signing contracts that way. So it was a really natural progression that the two businesses worked so well together. And that's partially why even on the junk removal side, which is a little bit more competitive in the franchise space, one of our unique propositions is we focus a lot on multi-unit and apartments for our core business, even on junk removal, because they're multi-use customers. They're going to use us multiple times a month. Whereas if I was working with Greg Mohr, he might use me once every 25 years because he's got a lot of land. So he doesn't need me as much. But that apartment complex, think about, I'm sure you've driven past apartment complexes or lived in them. There's always a mattress outside the dumpster. There's always some furniture. There's always something out there that needs to get taken away. So it was just a natural progression for those two things to connect synergistically.
That's pretty amazing. So your franchisees need to go out and start talking to these apartment complexes and getting in front of them. How do you help them get out there and know what to say and how to present themselves?
Great question. So a lot of it is we're going to go through a training process with them. So essentially, they're going to do some online training to get started. Then they're going to spend a week with us in Tampa at our corporate headquarters, getting more training, more hands-on work. But then also we're going to send our business consultant out to their location for about a week when they first open to do some of that sales effort with them. But the main thing that we're going to do is we're going to teach them the scripts. We're going to teach them the types of conversations and who they need to target. But we also subscribe to an apartment database that provides us contact information for all of the apartments in their local market, with the property manager information, a lot of other information, emails and phone numbers and things like that. But really one of the other pieces is getting very active in the local apartment associations or the Chamber of Commerce and places like that, where you have the opportunity to interact face to face. Because one thing that we've really found is, great as our business is from a corporate perspective, having a franchisee in a local market where they can build those relationships, where they can be in a position where, hey, I play, my son plays football with somebody else's son. Those types of connections you can't manufacture corporately. And that's the beauty of franchising. We also do a lot of stuff for soft marketing. So we'll help them with email drip campaigns. We'll do different solicitations, some mailings and some other things from the corporate office. Most of it, they're going to be sent on the franchisee's behalf from their email address, but essentially we're going to provide them the templates and the tools and the frequency through one of our CRM programs so that there's content going out to those folks all the time.
That's fantastic. So with all that going on with your franchisees going out there and getting involved in their community, getting to know everybody, what type of a person or personality are you looking for then in a potential franchisee?
Sure. So folks that have had some sales experience are phenomenal. We can teach that stuff as well. So it's not a deal breaker per se, but really somebody that can put together a team, somebody that's comfortable talking to others and being out in the community and wants to be a part of the community, because again, people can spot fake pretty well. So finding folks that are willing to put together the right team, they're going to motivate their team, but also want to be engaged and they want to be out there talking to folks. Now, on the other side is, we can operate this business. We have some of our franchisees running semi-absentee or even absentee, where they're more driven towards putting together a team and hiring the right folks for the roles. So that works as well. But really, it's having that ability and that commitment to just get out there and be comfortable talking to people. It's honestly, as I kind of walk through with our selling proposition, it's really not a hard sell. It's a relationship sell. So being out there and talking to folks, it's not a difficult product to get them to understand, and they see the win-win of it. So it's not selling like an 86 Honda with rot. It's selling a really nice product, but also giving them alternatives of, hey, if they're not ready to commit to Valet Trash, we can still service them on the junk side to build up that rapport and that experience with them before we start to talk about a longer term commitment and a contract.
So they don't necessarily have to be the one out there doing everything. They can actually hire somebody for semi-absentee, or as you put it, absentee. What is a semi-absentee or absentee? Mm-hmm. What does a day in the life of a franchisee look like that way?
Sure. So most of the time, our folks that are involved with the more semi-absentee are really geared towards a couple of them are geared towards going out and actually being more of the closer in the sales process, where they're team member, the folks that they hire are more appointment setters and kind of going through and narrowing down who they need to talk to and when they need to talk to them. But really the most important thing on both sides is somebody that can, one, make that final hiring decision, make sure they're bringing on the right folks, but also most importantly is manage the business. So keep an eye on the KPIs, keep an idea on where their performance is, how their team is performing. We do monthly KPI reviews with all our franchisees and financial reviews. So making sure that they're really focused on the health of the business and the growth of the business. We do a lot of, I hate to say it, but we have so much reporting that somebody that is analytical and likes getting into the numbers really can have a field day going through all the things that we do track. We can go down and tell you, how much business came from a particular ad that you ran for a week on Facebook. Down to the penny, how many calls came in, how many were booked. Because we do have a call center that handles all inbound leads as well. So franchisees aren't the ones answering the phone, their teams aren't dealing with that. We have trained professionals at our corporate headquarters in Tampa that take all inbound calls and requests and follow a script and follow a process so that we can make sure it's a consultative sale for our customers. But what I always say is it's great because sometimes people in our type of work are going through life events, and that's why they're downsizing or they're selling. So sometimes they want to tell you the whole story. And a franchisee that's busy for an appointment or a team guy that's busy doing something else, they can't always give it the attention that they really need to. So we want to be as the most responsive company out there. So I say is our folks are in a nice air conditioned office in Tampa, can throw their feet up on the desk and talk as long as somebody wants to make sure that they feel that their voice is heard. We can gather the information we need to give them the best possible service.
Well, that's fantastic. So in addition to the franchisee going out or having people go out and doing the networking, getting to be known in their community as well, all the advertising and marketing that you're doing, if people look you up online or look the franchise up online on Google, they can just pick up the phone, then call that call center. So they're having appointments booked on a regular basis. They get up in the morning, they can just look through their schedule and they can say, I just need to go here, here, and here, because I've already got people coming in.
Exactly. Everything's fed through our operating platform, which is also app-based. So the team will have actually a smartphone in their truck. All the appointments will go through there, and it helps them track also their team throughout the day. So the franchisee will have a dashboard where they can log in and they can actually see exactly where their vehicle is, what their schedule looks like for the day, what their revenue is for the day, what their expenses are looking like as well. So they basically can have their finger on the pulse without physically being there every day, which is a great luxury. And also too is we actually operate our business out of a self-storage unit as opposed to having a franchisee get a long-term lease or look for specific industrial space. It keeps their costs down tremendously to $500-600 a month on the high side without a long-term commitment to that particular complex. And essentially it allows their team to go there to start their day. They finish up over there. It's all, usually those complexes are gated with security, so you don't have to worry about anything getting messed with. And it just keeps the franchisees' operating expenses down that little bit, which helps them get to that profitability that much quicker. You got to bring in twice as much when you get for what's coming in than what's going out.
Well, that's perfect. So inside those complexes that you are taking care of, you've got your trucks in there.
Yep.
And they just need to go into a storage unit, which is generally very inexpensive to store it there. So your people just go out there, get in the trucks, and you can keep track of the trucks, know where everybody's at all the time, and you got your appointments already set up.
Exactly. And, it's great with those storage units too, because they become clients of ours as well. So people leave stuff behind in storage units. They have stuff that needs to get cleaned out. You're right there already to load up. And what's great is a lot of them we use to fill business. So one of the luxuries of focusing on multi-unit and focusing on commercial business is their hours are much better than a typical single family consumer, right? So our single family consumer has particular times in a day that they need us to be there. So working with clients that aren't as time crunched gives us flexibility so we can open up appointments throughout the day for last minute appointments for single family customers or single use customers, and then circle back and hit those other trucks. Or we can actually plan logistics wise that we have a quarter of a truck still available. We can go take on that smaller job anytime during the day just to fill it before we go empty the truck. So it really helps us from a logistics standpoint to focus so much on the commercial side as well.
Perfect. And very efficient, it sounds like. So you've got your junk shot, your doorstep details. So you're doing contract work, you're doing one-off work, got the call center going for you. You can do it all yourself with a little bit of help. You can do it semi-absentee and essential service as well. You got to get that trash taken.
100%. Yep. And it's the pandemic has brought us the best years we've ever had.
No issues then with finding people or business at all with the pandemic?
No, we've been, honestly, the pandemic, I always hate to say it, for our type of work, it's been somewhat of a blessing because a lot of folks have had to relocate or have had changes to their lifestyle. But also too, is there's a lot of us that, a lot of folks transitioned to home offices and realized they had a lot of clutter they needed to get rid of. We've, fortunately or unfortunately, we've done a lot with, business closings and things like that, where we've had to clear out spaces. So it's really kept us very, very busy. One of the things that's really been an advantage as well is that, from an employee perspective, Our trucks are right below the requirement for CDL, so there's no specialized licensing or anything for our trucks. One of the other big pluses is a lot of our customers and our tenants will tip our drivers. So their true compensation ends up being well above what we're paying them to get started. So that helps a lot with retention when the pay is there. And also too, one of the nice parts is we do have some relationships with some temp agencies or temp to perm, fill in labor force type companies. So that if you are short an employee one day or something happens, you're just a phone call and maybe an hour wait away for them finding somebody that can fill in for that day. So, it really gives us a lot of flexibility in scheduling. And if we do run into an issue where we're a little bit short with folks, we can bring on a temp to perm person right away. And if it works out, they have a full-time job. If it doesn't, we bring in someone else. So we've been really fortunate ourselves. Our franchise locations all have been really, I thought it would be more of a conversation, and honestly, it's almost never brought up, which is a beautiful thing.
That is good. Sounds like a great business. Well, how do we get a hold of you? To just go to acceleratedwaste.com, or is there a particular way we should reach out to you, Todd?
Absolutely. So if you go to acceleratedwaste.com, you can click on our franchising icon. You can get out to us. You can always also check out our YouTube channel. So we do have a YouTube channel for Accelerated Waste Solutions, which will show you some of our processes, some of our procedures, and the way that we do things, which will kind of give you a little peek under the tent on the logistics and how the business flows.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Reach out to Todd at any time, or reach out to me and I'll introduce you to Todd. Any last words before I let you go today, Todd?
No, just thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this, and really do look forward to hopefully meeting some of the listeners and viewers.
Perfect. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Greg.
Have a good day, sir.